In 2008, the world of audio was changed forever, not by an engineer in a white lab coat, but by a hip-hop mogul and a music executive. Suddenly, everyone, from NBA superstars to the kid on your local bus, was wearing a pair of bulky plastic headphones with a glowing red B on the side. Beats by Dre wasn't just a brand, it was a cultural virus. At its peak, it controlled 70% of the premium headphone market. But look around today. When you walk through an airport or a gym, what do you see? White stems? Sleek aluminum? The B has been replaced by the Apple. Welcome back to Master Plan. Today we are dissecting one of the most fascinating corporate sagas in history. We're going deep into the boardroom battles, the marketing genius, and the ultimate Trojan Horse acquisition. Where did Beats actually go? And who or what is responsible for its disappearance from the throne? Grab your coffee, because the master plan behind the death of Beats is more calculated than you think. Phase 1. The hustle that changed everything. To understand the downfall, we first have to understand the genius of the rise. Before 2006, headphones were boring. They were either $10 cheap plastic buds or $500 audiophile gear that looked like something out of a 1950s radio station. Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre realized something that the tech giants missed. People don't buy products, they buy identities. They didn't sell frequency response or impedance. In fact, early Beats were technically inferior to brands like Sennheiser or Bose. They were bass-heavy to the point of distortion, but Dre's pitch was simple. People aren't hearing all the music. They leveraged the influencer strategy before that term even existed. They didn't buy TV ads. They put headphones on LeBron James during the 2008 Olympics. They put them in every music video on MTV. They made the headphone a fashion accessory, the necklace of the 21st century. By 2011, Beats was valued at over $1 billion. But here is where the story takes a dark turn. Success attracts predators. Phase 2. The $3 billion Trojan Horse. In 2014, the tech world was rocked. Apple bought Beats Electronics for $3 billion. It was the largest acquisition in Apple's history. At the time, everyone asked, why? Apple already had the iPod. They had the white EarPods. Why would Steve Jobs' successor, Tim Cook, want a company known for overpriced plastic? The answer wasn't the hardware. It was Beats Music, the streaming service Iovine had just launched. Apple's iTunes was dying because people were moving to Spotify. Apple needed a streaming architecture, and they needed it fast. But there was a second, more master plan reason: the talent. Apple bought Beats to get Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre into the building. They wanted the cool factor injected into the Apple DNA. However, for Beats as a standalone brand, this was the beginning of the end. When you are a disruptor, you are a wolf. When a giant like Apple buys you, you become a pet. Phase 3, the internal sabotage. Who destroyed the brand? Now let's answer the question, who destroyed Beats? It wasn't a competitor like Sony or Bose. It was Apple itself. Think about it. After the acquisition, what happened? The AirPods revolution. In 2016, Apple released the AirPods. They used the exact same technology developed by the Beats engineers, the W1 and H1 chips. But Apple marketed AirPods as the future and Beats as the alternative. Feature parity. Apple started putting Apple-only features like spatial audio and instant pairing into both products. If you have an iPhone, why buy Beats when the AirPods Pro are designed by the same company to work even better with your OS? The identity crisis. Beats was built on being street, loud, and rebellious. Apple is minimalist, clean, and premium. You cannot be a rebel when you are owned by the most valuable corporation on earth. Apple effectively hollowed out Beats. They took the streaming tech and turned it into Apple Music. They took the chip tech and turned it into AirPods. They left the Beats brand in a strange limbo, a sub-brand for people who didn't want the white AirPods look. Phase 4, the technical decline and the bass trap. For my fellow audiophiles in the Master Plan community, let's talk about the science. Beats was destroyed by its own reputation. In the early 2000s, Beats became synonymous with bad audio. Engineers like Till Hertzens famously tore them apart, showing that they added metal weights inside the ear cups just to make them feel premium and heavy, even though the components were cheap. As the public became more educated about sound quality through YouTube and tech blogs, the bass-heavy sound profile became a meme. While Sony was perfecting noise canceling, ANC, and Bose was perfecting comfort, Beats stayed focused on celebrity colorways. By the time they tried to fix the sound, which they actually did with the Beats Solo Pro and Beats Fit Pro, it was too late. The master plan of their competitors was to out-engineer them, while Apple's plan was to out-evolve them. Phase 5. Where is Beats now? The ghost in the machine. Is Beats dead? Not officially, but it has been ghosted. Apple still releases Beats products, but notice how they do it. There are no more massive Apple keynote presentations for a new pair of Beats. They are silent drops on a Tuesday morning via press release. Beats has been demoted to Apple's testing ground. Want to see if people like bright colors? Try it on Beats first. Want to keep Android users in the ecosystem? Give them Beats, since AirPods don't work well with Android. Want to sell a product at a lower margin without hurting the Apple luxury price? Use the Beats brand. The red B didn't disappear because it failed. It disappeared because it was too successful for its own good. It became a target for a $3 trillion giant that needed its soul to fuel its own growth. Final thoughts. The lesson for us. The story of Beats by Dre is a masterclass in marketing versus product. You can conquer the world with a great brand, but if you don't own the platform will eventually own you. Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine walked away with billions. They won. But the brand they built, the culture-shifting, bass-thumping icon, is now just a line item in Apple's quarterly earnings report. The master plan was simple. Build a brand so loud that Apple had to buy it just to shut it up. What do you think? Do you still rock a pair of Beats, or have you officially switched to AirPods or Sony? And more importantly, do you think Apple intentionally killed the cool factor of Beats to protect its own image? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to hear your take on this corporate execution. If you found this deep dive valuable, hit that subscribe button and join the Master Plan family. We analyze the biggest moves in the world so you can stay ahead of the game. Would you like me to analyze another brand's master plan next? Perhaps the rise and fall of Nokia, or how Netflix is currently fighting for its life? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.